ride sharing video. For you folks that are watching on YouTube, you might be a day or two behind because the moment you start talking about Trump, MAGA related material, sometimes there can be a delay getting it out. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Gonna be talking about something tonight because I think it's kind of important to bring to the folks. You haven't heard a lot of Republican outcry about this. Nevertheless, I do believe it is something that is worthy of discussing. Now, this is Vivek Ramaswamy. He is one of the contenders for the Republican presidential nomination. Now, obviously, there's not a lot of folks that believe that Ramaswamy would beat Trump. That's fine. However, he is suggesting something that is worthy of a discussion because you're not hearing a lot of outcry from the Republican Party. And as I stated, or as the video was titled indeed, this is about potential loss of voter rights. Who the hell will be trying to take away voting rights in 2023? Well, I'm going to give you a clip. This is indeed Vivek Ramaswamy, one of the primary contenders for the Republican nomination. If I can get the audio, because
raise the voting age.
Okay, here we go. This is what he's talking about.
Raise the voting age in this.
A new constitutional amendment.
Raise the voting age in this country from 18 to 25, but still tell you that you can vote at 18 if you either do service to this country 6 months in the military or 6 months as a first responder.
Now, we'll play the rest of it, but understand he is trying to propose a constitutional amendment that would raise the age that you can vote from 18 to 25. So that's 7 years that you would not be able to vote until you're 25 when you can right now at 18. He is suggesting that you can vote at 18, but there are some stipulations. Here we go.
6 months as a first responder, or else at least pass the same civics test that we make an immigrant pass to actually become a voting citizen.
So you would have to pass a civics test or join the military. Now, I'm going to make it clear. I'm not going to block, ban, or censor anyone. I do want to hear your opinions on this. The box will be open. I have a hell of a lot of problems with this. Obviously, there are a hell of a lot of us that are well over 25 that would not pass that civics test. How the hell do we get to vote, yet an 18 to 25-year-old cannot? I mean, is there some kind of age discrimination in this? Why would he do that? That's what we're going to be talking about. How do you feel about the fact that a Republican politician is suggesting that if you cannot pass a test, you cannot be allowed to vote, but you can own an AR-15 without a test at all? Can someone explain that? That you are so, you lack intelligence to the point where we don't trust you with a ballot, but we'll hand you a firearm. Can someone please explain that? Because a hell of a lot of liberals have been promoting a test to own a firearm. You think Vivek Ramaswamy would be okay with that? But he wants you to have to take a test to cast a vote. That's what we're going to be talking about. As always, this is and forever will remain a MAGA-friendly program. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone simply because you have a disagreement with the host. Nevertheless, it is what it is. I'm really torn about the idea of taking away voting rights for the first 7 years of an adult's life. I want to hear from you folks. Looking in the comments, GOP can't win with Gen Z voters, says Mary Tag, and I do believe that's the gist of what he is doing. I do believe that has a hell of a lot to do with why he is suggesting this. Now, make no mistake about it, this isn't coming from Trump or Ron DeSantis or any of the other contenders. However, there's no one saying a damn thing about it. You hear anytime the liberals propose something like defunding the police, taking away guns, or even LGBT members in sports. So minute topics get a hell of a lot of attention from Republicans. Why isn't this one? a Republican contender talking about taking away voting rights for a large portion of the under 30 crowd. Why isn't this getting any attention? Going straight to the box, corn pop. Good evening, and because I'm just really curious. I don't know if it's letting my last guest up, but I want to find out who the hell agrees with this. Why would you be in favor of taking away voting rights for folks that are 18 to 25? That is 7 straight years where the youth have no say-so. But if a war breaks out and there's a draft, this is the primary group of people you're going to grab first. But they have no say-so in politics unless they join the military. This is a travesty of the rights, of our rights. But I want to hear folks in the comments explain to me how the hell you think this is a good idea. Let's try it again. I don't know what happened with my guest last time, but corn pop. Good evening. If there you go. So what do you think of this? No voting right, raising the age of voting to 25. You think this is a good idea?
No, absolutely not.
Then why do you think he's doing it?
I don't know. I mean, let's be fair here. Democrats want to raise the age of owning a firearm to 25.
Right. And you guys are bitching about that. But there's no bitching about this.
Right. But also look at that, right? If who's not? There's nobody bitching about raising the voting age to 25.
No. The point I'm saying is that there's a hell of a lot of folks on the right that think raising the age of owning a firearm is ridiculous. But there's no one criticizing this. Ramaswamy is, in other words, is saying you are not responsible enough to cast a vote, but we don't mind putting a gun in your hand. How does that make sense?
Right, because we're calling the Democrats bluff here, right? If you don't think that people should own a firearm until they're that people are mentally mature enough to own a firearm until the age of 25, then you are not mentally mature enough to vote until the age of 25.
So
it's called tit for tat.
So what you're saying is he's calling the Democratic bluff. In other words, he don't really actually want to do this. He's just calling their bluff.
Yeah, both sides do it all the time.
Where's your evidence of this?
I mean, it's pretty simple. Democrats want to raise the voting age or the firearm owning age to 25. Then someone says, okay, fine, we want to raise the voting age to 25.
Then why is it
all of a sudden that's not okay, right?
Where is your evidence of this? That is tit for tat. That he don't actually mean it. Where's your evidence of that?
So you're telling me so one party wants to raise the age of a constitutionally protected right, and then somebody else says, okay, fine, we're going to try to raise the age of this other constitutionally protected right.
Okay, so what's your point?
Do you see it? It goes hand in hand.
No. Here's why I disagree. If you want to suggest that you believe the Democrats are wrong for raising the age of owning a firearm to 25, we can discuss that. But the notion that Vivek is doing this as a counterpoint, I don't see no evidence of that. He truly believes that you should have to wait till you're 25. Has nothing to do with what the Democrats are doing.
Democrats are the ones that are sitting here saying that your frontal cortex is not fully developed until age 25. Okay.
I don't see.
Nobody is fully developed. Hang on. If nobody is fully developed until they're age 25, fine, cool. Let's raise the voting age to age 25.
Yeah, here's where you and I disagree. You're suggesting that this is where we disagree. You are suggesting that Vivek actually does not mean what he's saying. He's only doing it as a counterpoint to Democrats. I see no evidence of
That's
that.
the definition of politics.
I see no evidence.
Politicians don't believe the shit. They don't believe the shit they put forward or vote for, but they're doing it.
So you're telling me he's running a campaign based on something he don't even actually mean to do?
Yeah. Welcome to the campaign of Joseph Biden.
Are we discussing Vivek Ramaswamy, or are we just deflecting the liberals as defense?
No, see, this is the problem, right? This is not deflecting. This is a compare and contrast.
What is your definition of deflecting?
Deflecting is like, oh no, we're not talking about that. We're only going to go talk about this.
Okay. So, in other words, you're
You
saying,
think that it is deflecting, but it is not deflecting. I am literally marrying the two together.
okay. Well, I don't see Vivek or any of the folks cheering him on as suggesting that they're doing this in regards to what liberals are doing whatsoever. They truly believe, and a hell of a lot of folks in the comments have said that they also agree with what he's doing. They truly believe that you should raise the age from 18 to 25. It has not, he's not doing this because the Democrats did something first. He's doing it because he thinks it's the right thing to do.
Okay, where do you have proof of that?
Him saying it.
Okay, so are you in his head? Like, are you in there saying, okay, well, he's saying it, so he means it?
Any candidate.
Is that like when Joe Biden said he doesn't want his kids growing up in a racial jungle?
Yeah.
Did he mean that, or that wasn't like he didn't really?
When he said it, let me answer that question. As far as I'm concerned, when a person is running for president or they happen to already be president, when they say something, I take them at their word. I don't get in their head and try to reinterpret it. If Biden says he don't want his kids around black folks, I'm gonna take them at that.
You have done that about Trump. You have done that on Trump
Okay.
every single day.
I
Now,
don't.
before we move on, I want to say this. For conservatives, for MAGA, whatever you want to call yourselves, if you are watching this live, we need to flood the Fulton County District Attorney's Office with phone calls, with emails, with letters. Let them know that we have to indict Stacey Abrams for making the same exact claims as Trump. She did the exact same process. The Secretary of State has it on their website. They have a full-blown conclusion report that lays out that she did literally everything that they indicted Trump for.
Okay.
Clear as day. We have to demand that if we want an equal application of the law, and if nobody is above the law, as you have so eloquently said numerous times on your quote unquote show, then we have to have equal application, and she must be indicted.
Okay, I'm going to say to you what I tell folks all the time. If you are charged with a crime and you are for certain that somebody else did the same shit and they didn't get charged, that will not help you in court. Period. Even if you're telling the truth, it will never help you in court to show up there.
You're missing the point. Now you're deflecting away from.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about what you're talking about.
No, you're not.
Stacey Abrams.
Liberals are the ones. You are the ones that is sitting here saying nobody is above the law. We want an equal application of the law, and if they did something wrong, they should be charged.
Okay.
So why aren't you saying that Stacey Abrams should be charged? Because she did the exact same thing. She said the exact same things.
When?
She used the same amount, and she used the same money that Trump did to do the same exact things, and she went on TV and said the exact same things. She
Okay.
went on Twitter and did the exact same things. She demanded the Secretary of State do the exact same things.
Okay. Well, as I just stated
So
before,
why aren't you saying that she should be indicted?
because I don't believe you.
Why not?
Because I don't believe you.
The exact same thing.
Okay.
What do you mean? It's on tape. It's on video. She went on live TV, on press conferences, on Twitter, and said the exact same thing. What do you mean you don't believe it? You don't believe her mouth?
So let me ask you this question then. If what you're saying is true, Stacey Abrams was directly.
She never said that.
I'm trying to answer the question.
Are you saying that Stacey
Harris.
Abrams never ever said that
Harris.
she had her election stolen?
You don't get to dictate how the program runs. I'm answering your question. You don't get to tell me how to answer it. What I am simply saying is this. Stacey Abrams, who you were suggesting did all of this stuff, was in direct competition with the current governor of Georgia, Governor Kemp, who she lost to. If she did what you said she did in the state of Georgia, why the hell is the Republican governor that she was trying to do it to not suggesting she should be charged with a crime?
Because he can't do that. A governor can't charge anybody, my guy.
He can't ask for it to happen like you're doing right now. He can't do that.
You know why? Because Republicans have been trying to take the high road for a very long time. That's why Trump never went after Hillary. That's why Trump never told his attorney general, go after them right now. Because we have been trying to take the high road. People jumped all over Trump's ass for saying that Hillary would be in jail. You can't do that. You can't go after your political opponent. You can't do that. And now, all of a sudden, what is happening?
You really believe the Republicans were trying to take the high road? I'll give you the last word. I got to move it on. I can't even respond to
Tell
that.
me how they're not. Tell me how they're not taking the high road.
Wait, you're launching all kinds of crazy ass nicknames about people. That's not taking a high road.
Okay. So we're not talking about facts here. We're talking about.
We're talking about taking a high
You're
road.
my pussy. Come on, man.
The notion that even Republicans are often saying they don't like the way Trump talked to people. They're even admitting he didn't take the.
It does not matter. It does not matter
Okay.
if I like or dislike the way somebody talks. That has no bearing on it whatsoever.
So in other words,
It's what they actually do.
so
when Trump was saying, "Hey, this is what I would do," and everyone was like, "You can't do that."
according to you,
that's not how this country works. You don't go after your political opponents.
so according to you, as long as you don't,
And you're going to talk over me yet again.
according to you, as long as you don't go after your political, okay, I gotta move it on, man.
Be a fascist. Be a fascist.
All right, I'm being a fascist.
You're being a bootlicker right now.
All right.
Like, it's
I gotta move it on. The man, he's always welcome back on the program. But that man comes with a lot of passion. We disagree vehemently, but as I said, he's always welcome back. Looking in the comments, I don't give a fuck what party any of you are. Let's freaking be normal again. I'm done with this shit, y'all. Candace, 100% agree with that comment. However, with a potential rematch of President Trump versus Biden, I don't think you're going to get that wish. I don't believe you're not, even Biden is often saying negative things about MAGA. And we know Trump has no intentions of being positive or kind to the liberals. So with these two parties running against each other, using those two candidates, there's no way we're going to get back to being normal again. Many would suggest that if Trump is reelected, hell, he's going to go on a revenge mission, even against members of the Republican Party. So you're not going to get normal until Biden and Trump are completely out of the picture. And I see, Candace, you said, I know, let's pray, y'all. Yeah. Corn Pop buried you in that debate, handsome. Dapper Don. I'm here to be buried. That is what I come on. The whole purpose of coming here is to have a dialogue with you guys back and forth. If you think the guy buried yours truly in the debate, then hey, hats off to the man. He's always welcome back. He can bury me again in the future. That's what I always believe. Free speech. I believe in letting you get your point across. And if it makes me look like a piece of shit, I promise you I won't censor, block, or ban you in any way. You'll always be welcome back. That's what we're about here, is free speech. All right, going back to the box, we'll keep it moving with the PR conservative. Like the name, we're talking about changing voting rights from 18 to 25. Vivek Ramaswamy said if he is reelected as president, PR conservative. Did you hear the clip that I just played?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, it's only a few seconds, but I would like for you to listen to it before you chime in, okay?
Sure.
All right.
Of a national identity crisis. He also announced to support for a new constitutional amendment.
Raise the voting age in this country from 18 to 25, but still tell you that you can vote at 18 if you either do service to this country 6 months in the military or 6 months as a first responder, or else at least pass the same civics test that we make an immigrant pass to actually become a voting citizen.
As a conservative, do you agree with that?
To a degree, yes, but it's really hard to use that across the board, you know, when it comes to military, gun rights, and voting. Because I think I saw a study not that long ago that the human brain is fully developed around the age of 24, 25.
Okay.
So, like a fully developed, like, you know, you're a teenager, you're preteen, you're still not fully developed mentally. 25, you're fully developed. Does that mean you shouldn't join the military? You shouldn't do all this stuff? I don't know. That's something I can't say yes or no to because I am not 100% sure. I haven't really gone into the facts.
Yeah, but if you're a conservative, like conservatives talk about how they're for freedom and individual rights, you got to admit this is a reduction of freedoms. to take the voting rights away from people for the first 7 years of adulthood, that's a loss in freedom, is it not?
For what aspect of it? I'm sorry. The first 7 years that you cut off.
Yeah, you're taking away voting rights for adults for the first 7 years of their life. That's a loss of freedom, isn't it?
Right. I think if you right now, if you're allowed to go into the military, you should be able to vote. That's the way I look at it. If you make the military age 18, you should vote at 18. Like everything there should be one age that everyone should be treated as an adult. You can't say, hey, you can go into the military and vote at 18, but you can't smoke or drink until you're 21. That doesn't make sense. There has to be a standard, a set age, whether it's 18 or 21, where you're treated as an adult from beginning to end.
What if I have no desire to join the military, but I want to vote, and I don't want to take a civics test? You're telling me I should be denied the right to vote?
Oh, you're talking about civics test?
Yeah, that's what he said, a civics test.
Yeah, you know what? That one I can't say you should. I really gotta think about that one. Because
Why?
There is. Well, because right now it's something it's hard for me to say yes, because I haven't really grasped the information on that yet to say if it's right or wrong. Because there is something to, if you want to vote, maybe you should know something about this country before you vote. And at the same time, on the flip side, it's like, do you need to know all this information? You should have the right to vote. And I get both sides. So I need to kind of weigh both of them on my own, give it some time till I come to a really good conclusion.
But then that opens up the obvious question. If you want to suggest that a citizen should know something about, a citizen between the ages of 18 and 25 should know something about the country before they can vote, why the hell doesn't that apply to a 40-year-old? If the 40-year-old cannot pass the civics test, why do they automatically get the right to vote, but the 18 to 25-year-old got all of these rules and regulations against them?
Well, 18-year-old is when you start voting.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean a 40-year-old can pass the civics test. A 40-year-old may be dumb as a rock too.
Maybe every American, just thinking out loud, should have the same test that illegals, that migrants take when they become Americans.
Do you realize, if you take the civics test, do you realize how much of our history in terms of civics and social studies is based on a lie? How much of that stuff is actually not even true? If you're an immigrant and they ask you who discovered America, the answer you give is not even the truth. So you're going to demand they take a test and the answers are not even factual?
That's the important part of the American education. It's been so diluted.
Yeah.
Misinformation. So it's like, who decides what's right and what's to teach? Maybe it's just the basic foundations. That's another conversation to decide. What should people learn in order to take this test? You know, what should be the criteria in this test? You know, that's a debatable point.
How about
I don't know what it should be.
How about not having a test at all? Is there any other first world nation on earth that requires its citizens take a test before they can be in other words, you don't actually have the right to vote. You got to demonstrate to us that you've earned it, that you have enough knowledge. Is there anybody else doing that?
No, I mean, also that's probably what makes us great. That's what makes us exceptional.
That we
Remember, we're not like every other country. But I think we should stand out from every other country. Is what makes us great. Whether it's, whether we agree on that or not, I think we should definitely stand out and not be like any of these other countries.
This makes
That's
us.
the purpose of America.
So let me ask it to you this way. If I have to take a test to prove that I am knowledgeable enough to vote, what about owning a gun? Do you think I should have to take a test to prove that I'm knowledgeable enough to own a firearm?
Well, you do got to go through some sort of background check.
You can't fail the test that
No,
they.
again, I'm not saying that I'm 100% with that point. I'm saying I'm giving you both sides. I told you I'm still debating myself on what we should go forward with. So I'm playing devil's advocate at the same time. So this is just thrown on me. So I'm like, I really haven't thought it through.
Why not just keep voting as a right, as opposed to some kind of privilege you got to prove you're knowledgeable enough to accomplish?
Listen, I think you're 100. You have a great point there as well. and I see nothing wrong with that. You know, again, it's one of those things where I really need to weigh out both left and right, or what he said and what you said, to see what I think I really feel comfortable with. Because I might feel one way now, and then I'll lay back in bed. I'm like, oh, but I forgot this aspect of it, and then change my mind. You know, this is one of those things. Like I like to just pull back. Like I don't want to stop anybody from voting. Once you're 18 or 21, you can vote. Well, the debate is if you should take a civics test. That's debatable. Am I for it? Maybe. I can't say right now.
I don't listen. If there is a candidate running for city council in my town or running for an alderman, and I think the guy sucks, I shouldn't have to know what happened in 1776 to cast my opinion for what this guy is doing in my neighborhood.
Good point. But I think at the same time, I think the concern we're having is that we have people right now, and I don't know how you fix this, but people just vote with emotions. There is no voting on facts. There's no voting on information on either side. This has nothing to do with left or right. So there's people just voting just to vote. I remember when I first voted, I knew nothing about politics when I was a kid. You know, my first time I voted, I went in, I really didn't know what these political parties are. I just voted for someone's name. I had no idea what I was doing.
That's but that's not going to stop. I know U.S. civics. I would pass that test. I feel confident that I could pass that test, and I still vote on emotion sometimes. Making somebody take a test is not going to stop that. If a person doesn't like you, let's say for instance you don't like Hispanics, if you take that test, it's not going to make you suddenly start liking Hispanics. If you're voting against Hispanics, you're not going to vote for them. That test ain't going to change nothing.
Good point. I can't disagree with you at all.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. And I think in the end, you and I definitely agree. This is a loss of freedoms, period. Because if he does this, some people are going to lose the right to vote.
Based on the way you said now, I think you are onto something. You will lose some rights if you're forced to the age of 25. You do have a point there.
Yeah.
I can't disagree with you.
And it shouldn't surprise you that the voting category between the ages of 18 and 25 are overwhelmingly blue. Overwhelmingly. There's not a lot of Republicans in the under 25 voting crowd, which is why he conveniently stopped at the young age.
Yeah. Because usually, what is that saying that said that if you're not a liberal when you're young, I forgot the phrase.
I know what you're trying to say. I know what you're trying to say. If you're not a liberal when you're young, chances are you never will become one. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Or something again. If you're not a conservative when you're an adult. I forgot. I butchered the entire thing.
The message got across. I know exactly what you're trying to say. But I got to move it on, man.
Appreciate you. Take care.
Good talk. All right. Looking in the comments section. And by the way, folks, tap the screen. I don't know if it's TikTok or my connection or what. We got 100 and some in here. Normally, we're rolling with about 1,000 people. But I will go back to the box real quick in the comments. That's funny because I've learned more. I've leaned more left. You know, the Conservative Party does tailor more to the older crowd. They do. I mean, think about some of the things they're in favor of. Preventing you from losing your inheritance, reducing taxes. A lot of the stuff that they're talking about, the 18 to 25 crowd don't even have access to that stuff yet. It's not a big deal to them. The 18 to 25 crowd, legalization of marijuana, criminal justice reform. Even if you're a white young person, you don't necessarily like the cops that much when you're 18 to 25. Like I said, legalization of marijuana. They certainly are pro-choice because this is a group of people that is the most fertile and would be affected the most by pro-life, pro-choice decisions. The 18 to 25 crowd is not very religious at all. Whereas when you look at what the conservatives stand on, they are absolutely pro-Christianity. They are pro-life. They definitely are not a fan of legalizing drugs. They go against what most young people want. That's why the younger crowd is not big fans of the Conservative Party. And the same thing with the LGBT community. The 18 to 25 crowd is definitely allies of the LGBT community. they're also far more fans of diversity. A lot of the young, even if you're living in an all-black neighborhood or an all-white neighborhood, when they're at that age, they are far more favorable to diversity. That shit starts happening when you get set in your ways and you get older, and that's why when you watch Fox News, OAN, Newsmax, look at the commercials that come on in between the show. You tell me who those commercials are tailored to. They're selling gold and timeshares and talking about switching your 401k to an IRA and Roth and things like all of that shit's tailored to people that are my age or even older. They don't, you can look at the commercials and tell that they don't expect young people to be watching right-wing media. Just look at what they're advertising. You don't see them talking about nothing for young folks. It's all old people shit. All right, going back to the box. We'll keep it moving. Aquafina Squirter. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Guns are in the Bill of Rights. Voting is not an amendment. Are you suggesting that voting is not a right? The citizens do not have a right to vote? Good evening, Aquafina.
I won't be nice to you and say handsome liberal today.
I can live with that. That sounds much better than the usual. So what do you think?
I'll be playing with you, though. Honestly, I'll be playing with you. I really don't mean it. I'll be playing.
Don't worry about it at all.
I get the Trumpsters in their feelings.
So what do you think? Raising the voting age?
The orangutan group, the orange orangutan group, Trumpsters, they are so afraid of Gen Z. They are trying so hard to stop because they know Gen Z's coming. And they're going to have the biggest blue wave ever because people are pissed off. You pissed off LGBTQ, you pissed off trans people, you're going after other people's kids. I mean, you name it, you're going after. So Gen Z, honey, is coming. 18-year-olds. The ones are going to be coming up, the 17-year-olds are going to be 18. They're coming. And when they're coming, they are coming full force. They're sick of being shot at in the schools. They're just tired of all the BS shit. You know what I mean? So Gen Z's coming. I have Gen Z in my house, and they are saying they were coming. We're tired of going to school being afraid.
Yeah.
You feel me?
You know,
they're tired of going to school being afraid and stuff. And they're coming for blood.
Occasionally, we do have some disagreements on some topics. What you're saying here now, I don't disagree with any of that. I don't think that the right side of the aisle is going to do well with Gen Z at all. I mean, I'm talking.
No, they're not, and that's why they want to raise it because they know Gen Z is power. These kids are not stupid; they're woke. These kids are coming, and they're coming full force. Look at the Tennessee 3. That's our new generation of Democrats right there. They are not going to stop. And the GOP, the orangutangs, they are stupid.
I wouldn't say that. I talk to some smart Republicans all the time. I don't want to call them stupid.
They're not. Okay, if they're going for Trump, they're not smart. They're not smart if they're going for Trump. They're fascists. They're racist. And they're thinking that all this big we're coming and we're taking the stripping our rights. They're really thinking that's going to work. Because Gen Z's a new generation.
Yeah.
And they're coming. They're coming. That's why they want to stop them. But guess what? They're not that.
Yeah, and so at the end of the day, then you believe that the only reason he's doing it is mainly because he realizes he doesn't have a large voting block among that crowd. So just stop him from voting altogether because it's mostly Democrats.
It is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, people, they're thinking they're winning. Like, oh my God, like another Alabama is just taking African-American history out of their books now. That's a second state.
What state?
Alabama.
Now, I know we know what's going on in Florida.
It's Arkansas, Alabama. It's one of A's. And even Georgia's taking some books out. Yep,
Yeah.
they sure is.
Well, we know what's going on in Florida, but I haven't heard of any other new state that's doing it because Florida.
Arkansas, whatever that is. It's an A state. My brain is fried right now because I'm hot.
Arkansas.
But yes. Yeah, they're taking it. They're taking it out. So, Pete, you know what? Let me tell you something. Now, I'm being honest to God. I'm being for real. I'm not trying to be funny. They're going to go through menopause. When it comes to the biggest blue wave, they're going to go through. I told you last time, and I promise you, they had a period stain. This time, they're going through menopause because they done pissed off Gen Z really bad.
So let me ask you this: in the comments, Dave Bruce, and this is obviously aimed at what you're saying. Dave Bruce said it's funny how the left always accuses people of what they actually are: fascist, racist. That's what they actually are. So he's suggesting that the Democrats are all.
We're the racist ones. We are the racist ones. We're going to Florida, taking people's rights away, telling the LGBTQ that you can't say gay, or, oh my God, taking African American literature out of the schools. We are the ones that are doing it. I swear to God that who's the governor? He's red.
Ron DeSantis?
Ron DeSantis is red though. He's not blue.
Yeah, of course.
And he's fighting with fucking Nikki over LGBTQ. That's not blue. That's red.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm saying that they're anti-woke when you don't even know what fucking woke is. That's how special these orangutan orange motherfuckers are. Mofos are.
All
They
right.
don't even know what woke is. I'm being real. Be honest. They don't even know what woke is. They hijack our word for woke. They say, hey, anti-woke this, anti-woke. Motherfucker, you don't even know what woke is.
Okay.
That's why they got graduated from Trump University on God, they did.
All right, I gotta move it on, girl.
But I got to go because I don't want to blow my high on the orangutans. You feel what I'm saying?
I feel what you said. Good talk. Appreciate you coming in. Oh, it's folks, small crowd tonight, but show your boy some love. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 10, 15,000 likes. There's 100 plus of you in here. A very small crowd for what we normally do during the afternoon. But I wanted to run it by you. I will go back to the box shortly. Marvin Davis says she high. That's a Democrat. Are you suggesting that Republicans don't get high? Do you realize how much meth is floating throughout the rural areas in the South? What do you mean she's high because that makes her a Democrat? I don't buy that for a minute. And you're talking to somebody who's never been high in my entire fucking life, but you're not going to escape drugs by going to Republican areas. That's just not going to happen. Real quick in the comments before we go back to the box, what we're discussing is Republican presidential contender Vivek Ramaswamy proposing a constitutional amendment, or better yet, a change to the Constitution. Here's a quick clip.
New constitutional amendment.
Raise the voting age in this country from 18 to 25, but still tell you that you can vote at 18 if you either do service to this country 6 months in the military or 6 months as a first responder, or else at least pass the same civics test that we make an immigrant pass to actually become a voting citizen.
And as I've said before, there are folks on the right that are celebrating this change. I got a bunch of problems with it, but we're going to look in the comment section and go right back to the box. And I see Tony Chopper says Vivek needs to chill out. By the way, Vivek is a well-respected contender in Republican circles. There are plenty of Trump, Vivek 2024 memes and flags floating around. There's a lot of folks that like him, and this is what he's promising. What about the ones that are 18 to 25 now and bought it already so they cannot vote until 25? I don't know. I think it's a play at realizing, as my last caller was saying, recognizing that people under 25 ain't gonna vote for us anyway. So if they lose their right to vote, so be it. They weren't gonna vote for us anyway. I really believe that is the play. In the comment section, someone asked, I think that CFC said, you high. Never been high in my life. I got naturally dark eyes sometimes. So no, I've never even had so much as a beer in my life. Not I. Looking in the comments, Bolts Chris, good evening. I think I hit Z-Pack. I don't know who I just grabbed there. Okay, Good evening. So you heard the clip. What do you think?
Absolutely. Why not pass a civics test?
So
It's basic common sense to say that you should have the civic knowledge to know how the country is constructed before you vote on how it should be constructed.
why only 18 to 25? Shouldn't a 50-year-old have the same knowledge?
I believe it should be for everyone.
Okay. So why do you think he's only targeting 18 to 25 then?
Because it's easy to pass it that way.
Why is it
You
easy?
get people to buy on that way.
Why would it be easier to do it to the 18 to 25 versus everybody?
Because just like you said earlier, you feel that you have a well-rounded civic knowledge, correct?
Yeah.
Okay? Why do we only have 2 senators?
So that every state is equally represented.
Okay? Do they represent the people or the state?
There's everybody that is every politician out there is supposed to represent the people. You're never supposed to be representing a piece of geographical area. You're all supposed to represent the people.
So, and this is why we need the civics test.
Why?
Your senators are supposed to represent the interest of the state, not the interest of the individual people.
Yeah, but
The representatives are supposed to represent the interest of the people.
think about what you're saying. Think about what you're saying. A state like Alabama, which leans red, they are pro-life. The actual geographic state of Alabama is not pro-life. It's the people in it that are pro-life. It makes no sense to represent a piece of land.
Okay, so are you saying that there is no interest to Alabama, such as for water rights in
Yeah.
the state?
Yeah, but there's also interest in the actual human beings there too.
Or power rights for the state?
Yeah, and I go, who in that state is using the power?
But this is where that distinction has to come from. And this is why we need the civics exams.
Why do I?
Is to get back to the principles.
But if I want to vote for a city councilman, why do I need to know that?
Why do you need to know that for a city councilman?
Yeah,
What power does a city councilman have?
depending on the city. I'm just simply saying if you know somebody is a bad guy or somebody. Listen, if I'm a woman and I want to have the right to choose, I don't need to know any of that to know that the guy talking about taking away my right to choose is the guy I don't want. I don't need to learn all of that stuff to know this. If you support the Second Amendment, if somebody is trying to take away your gun rights, you don't need to know all of that shit to know this is a bad guy to vote for.
Okay?
That's it. That's all you need to know.
But when you vote, you send people to die in war.
Okay?
So, if
The
you're
Dallas
voting
County
for
GOP.
somebody that would do that, wouldn't you assume that you would want to know that's the power that somebody holds to do?
That if you want to go out and get that amount of education, that as a citizen is your right. Nobody should be able to force you though to go out and learn more about the country to cast a ballot. If you want to do that to become an educated vote, a hell of a lot of women in this country vote based on what their husbands are saying. I mean, which is why my original question to you was, why does it have to stop at 25? There's a whole lot of people that are over 50 that couldn't pass the civics test. But a lot of them vote Republican. So he conveniently stopped it off at the younger age. If he tried to do what he's suggesting, but he tried to do it for all voters, the Republican Party would be like, hell no. But if you're willing to do it for the people that don't vote for us anyway, then yeah, we'll go with that.
See, and that's where it comes down to, we turn it into a politics issue rather than an actual, should we have the education issue? Should we understand what we're voting for when we vote?
Yeah,
And
but
essentially what we're saying is we shouldn't understand the operations of our country, and that leads to problems. And that's one of our biggest issues right now. For example, who's the head of the DOD right now?
the Department of Defense, I don't know.
You don't know.
No.
How do you not know who the head of the DOD is?
I'm sure if I think about it, I do. But I mean, we're talking about one topic, and then you're asking me, you're talking about, you're going to other stuff. I mean, are you suggesting? Wait a minute. Are you suggesting that if a citizen cannot tell you who the head of the Department of Defense is, they shouldn't be able to vote?
They should not be able to vote for the head of the Department of Defense if they can't tell me who the head of the Department of Defense is.
Yeah. I totally disagree with that. I believe that voting should be a right. I don't think you should be able to give a person a bunch of gotcha questions. And I'm going to say that obviously with the historical context that they use that against black people and stopped us from voting. I don't like posing questions to the people, and if they don't pass those questions, they can't vote. I just simply don't like it because of the historical context of it.
I don't disagree with that statement, but it makes me really nervous because people don't have a very good understanding of what's going on in the country and how it actually applies. The head of the Department of Defense is the President of the United States. It's within his powers in the Constitution. This is the kind of thing that we as citizens should have an understanding of.
If you want to suggest people know that, I'm fine with that, but I don't believe you should be able to ban somebody's rights for that.
But so when you get mad at your politicians for not doing what you want, you have to understand why they were able to or unable to do what you asked them to do. And if you don't understand the limitations of their authorities, then you have no ability to understand what they can or cannot do.
So what happens if a person takes the test and as the years go on, they forget a hell of a lot of the information? I mean, I think about some of the tests I took in high school. I don't remember calculus and algebra like I used to. Should I lose my right to vote if I forget some of the information?
So that's a great example and a great question. Should we be limiting the ability of people to vote based on their ability to understand what is going on around them?
Yeah,
You could literally make the same argument against me coming from the liberal aspect, which you just did recently.
What do you mean?
Do I understand, as a more right-leaning person, do I understand what the younger generation is looking for and what they want? No. Do I understand?
I think most people on the right do understand what the younger generation want. They just don't think it's right for America.
See, now, I don't think it's right to want. I think it's right to obtain.
I don't explain that.
Explain that?
Yeah. I don't quite
Are
get
you
that.
above working in the field to provide for your subsistence?
Wait, you broke up. You said, am I about working what?
Are you above working in a field to provide for your subsistence?
It's something I would prefer not to do, but if I absolutely had to, I guess I would.
Okay. Is there a level of knowledge that could be obtained from an 18-year-old working the summer, picking crops, herding cattle, doing that kind of work, that could be good life lessons?
I'm probably say no, because that's a job that doesn't require much education.
It doesn't require much education, but it is a very educational job when you do it.
Depends on who you ask.
It's not an easy job.
No, it's not.
Some of the education you can get from it wouldn't be a book education. Just kind of how things go and how to deal with issues and how to deal with problems as they arise.
Okay, so I don't get your point here.
A lot of our society doesn't have the ability to problem solve on the fly. Things overwhelm them very easily.
Okay, I still don't get your point though.
Part of this is we don't do that type of education for our younger generations anymore. I think we need more of that type of education for the younger generation.
I'm fine if you wanna to provide additional education. Why not listen to the liberals? We've asked to provide an extra 2 years of school after high school. You guys told us no. I mean, that's what one of the biggest issues about college tuition is, that we think you should provide additional education. The country should provide its citizens with additional education for free. You guys are against that. If you gave the extra education, you could put that in there.
Well, why do you, and this is part of this point, why do I need to pay for somebody to learn something that they can get paid to learn?
Because you want me to learn it. If you want to demand I learn something, you should help me out in getting it.
Okay. Let me give you kind of a basic example. Everyone uses a toilet.
Right.
Very few people can put a toilet in, right?
Okay.
How hard do you think it is to install a toilet?
It's not. I've done it. It's not very difficult.
It's 2 bolts.
So what's your point?
Right now, you can make $20 an hour as an unskilled laborer and learn how to do that.
Okay. Everybody don't want to be a plumber though.
I got people right down the street from me literally telling me they can't find a job and they hold a college degree. They don't want to do that type of work. And then they freak out. Hold
Go
on.
ahead.
And then they freak out because now they got to pay $120 an hour for a plumber to come into their house and install a toilet.
Okay. I don't disagree with that
Got to
part.
find that balance.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that part. The part I disagree with is you're going to demand people have a specific amount of education and do absolutely nothing to help them get it. Tell them they got to go out and get the education that you want them to get by changing toilets. If you want me to know this, you should be responsible for providing me with the education to get it. I shouldn't have to pay for it by putting in toilets.
I should never have to help someone get an education that would benefit them.
I should never have to be.
Hold on, just as you shouldn't have to help me get an education that benefits me.
I should never have to get an education that you think is beneficial to me. If I want to become educated,
All right, y'all. So I'm about to deliver
I should be
this.
able to. I should be able to get an education that I feel is beneficial to me. I shouldn't have to be educated according to what you think is beneficial if you're not going to help me out at all.
So what you're saying is, if I don't agree with the education that you get, I shouldn't be responsible for it at all, correct?
I'm saying if you don't, I'm saying you shouldn't have no say so in the education I get at all, period.
So then why should I pay for it?
You're not. That's the point. You're not paying for it. You're trying to dictate that I should learn something to vote, and you're making it clear I'm not going to pay for you to learn it at all.
Oh. So this is, and this is what this comes down to. How do I charge somebody that is a non-citizen to understand our government better than our citizens?
Do you realize how many doctors and engineers we bring in this country that know more than our citizens already? That already happens.
I don't disagree with that. But my question is, how do I charge someone who immigrates here to know more about this country than those who grew up here?
Because it's not a right. It's because it's not a right for them. It's a right for U.S. citizens to vote.
So then, it's not a right for them to be here. They have to obtain the ability to be here.
Somehow, here's where you're losing me. You're trying to compare a naturally born U.S. citizen born with American rights to somebody trying to immigrate here. It doesn't matter what is required of an immigrant. If I'm a U.S. citizen, I don't want to be compared to them in any fashion or form. I don't care what they got to learn. I'm not one of them.
So there shouldn't be an equal standard across the board.
If I'm a citizen there shouldn't be an equal standard with immigrants. I don't, whatever you want to put on the onus of immigrants, you can pass a law to do that. But as a citizen, I don't want to be in that conversation at all. I'm not an immigrant. I'm not trying to migrate to America. I'm already here and I have citizenship. I don't want to hear about what immigrants have to learn.
Okay. So you don't think that you should have to maintain that level of knowledge, and there should be no requirement other than birthright citizenship for anybody in America?
So what's next? If I don't know, if I don't have an education, you gonna take my citizenship away too?
So, and this is the standard argument is, hold on. The standard argument that what makes us any different than anybody else in the world? And why shouldn't we let them come here? Because now you just gave the argument that you're here, you're established, you're a citizen.
Right,
Correct?
right.
And if I say there should be a standard to hold an immigrant to come into this country, that's absolutely 100% right and reasonable. But I should not be able to apply the same standard to a U.S. citizen.
Right. No, you should.
That opens up a whole different slew of things.
So, are you also suggesting that U.S. citizens with Second Amendment rights should have to pass a test before they can own a gun?
We already do that.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You can be dumb as hell and still get a gun license. As long as you don't have any criminal history, you don't need to have a first grade education to get a gun in most states in this country. What are you talking about?
Sorry. I should clarify that.
Please
I'm in
do.
Oregon.
Please do.
I'm in Oregon. They just passed a law that requires a 5-year license to be able to purchase weapons.
A 5-year license that, what does it take to get the license?
Courses, intense background check, and a psychiatric evaluation. And it lasts for 5 years, must be renewed every 5 years.
Okay, and I'm sure that there are Republicans currently right now taking that and fighting against that particular, because they don't want you to have to take any test at all to own a gun, but they want you to take a test to vote.
It's currently sitting at the Supreme Court.
Right.
We should make, I'd make an even better deal. I say that any law that we apply to obtaining a gun should apply to the right to vote.
Even though I don't agree with it, I might be willing to bend in that case, because I do believe owning a firearm without having any education is deadly. I I understand you believe voting without any education can be dangerous to the country. I'm willing to meet you in the middle somehow on that. But the right would never agree to requiring a test to own a gun. They just aren't going to agree to that.
I think if you phrased it in the fashion that I just phrased it in, where every right that applies to voting and every restriction that applies to voting would be the same restriction that applies to the ownership of firearms, I bet you could sell it.
I would bet you are wrong 100 days to Sunday, because there is a phrase out there referred to as shall not be infringed. And what you're talking about is nothing but infringement. I don't think anybody on the right is going to be in favor of some kind of test that you can actually fail and lose your gun rights. So we'll definitely disagree on it. But I got to move it on, Boats. Appreciate you coming in, though. Good talk.
I'll come back again.
Always welcome back. My door is always open to you. All right, looking in the comments, there's another phrase too. It's called white supremacy. T-Plane. Oh my God. There is some historical context to that. This convo is going nowhere. Handsome Lib, he just pivoted. I enjoy talking to the guests. Sometimes we have a disagreement, which is what we just did, but he's always welcome back. Looking in the comments, Terry is telling I'm about to say T-Pain, but T-Plane, you're saying that's racist. I don't know if I totally agree with that. And they lose, and that's a good point. Twigs Amas, you're saying they would lose all their uneducated voters. What the caller was suggesting is that if you could have some type of civics test to voting, the Republicans would probably be willing to bend on having some kind of test to the Second Amendment rights. And what Twigs is saying in the comments, and that I agree with, is they would lose all their uneducated voters. There's a hell of a lot of folks who vote Republican over the age of 25 that would not pass that civics test, which is why they conveniently chopped off the age at 25, because none of them are Republican anyway. You start telling some 65-year-old grandpa he got to pass a damn civics test. You talk about try that in a small town, that shit won't work at all. Somebody in rural Alabama sitting on the porch with a damn shotgun being told you got to take a civics test before you can vote, that ain't gonna happen. It sounds great to do it to an 18 to 25-year-old, but that shit ain't gonna happen to some of these rural patriotic, them patriots you guys are talking about. You think some of them folks that went in the Capitol building on January 6th would be okay with a civics test? You think they would be fine with that? That they can't vote unless they pass a civics test? Hell no. That shit it would never pass. Let me go back to the box though. Let's keep it going. Z-Pack, I appreciate your holding. Good evening. Welcome back to the program. Talking about taking away voting rights between the ages of 18 and 25 until they can pass a civics test or join the military. Do you support that?
No.
Why not?
Quite simply the same reason that a lot of your other callers gave. It's just one of these things where it's like, hey, how can we suppress the vote more because we're extremely outnumbered by probably 10 million votes across the country? How can we get rid of some of that? Oh, well, let's make the 18-year-olds, not be able to vote, right? Or whatever, up to 25, 18 to 24.
Yeah.
Let's just get rid of that block of vote because that's the vote that's going to ultimately decide the next election. So why not? That sounds like a great plan.
Yeah, and if you could do voting blocks on a graph, like let's say 50 to 70-year-olds, and you see what percentage votes Republican versus Democrat. The lower the age group goes, the bigger the gap in favor of Democrats. And if you're talking 18 to 25, yeah, it makes sense to a Republican. If you can get rid of that voting block altogether, there's nothing but a heap of benefit in there because, yeah, the 18 to 25-year-olds, probably about 70 to 80% of them are voting Democrat.
But that's the whole play. This is what they do. What they want to do is try to take away as many votes as they possibly can so that they have an advantage. And they still probably won't have an advantage because they're just so outnumbered.
Yeah.
They're not a majority. They're barely hanging on for election cycles. I mean, it used to be that the Electoral College was I don't even know the word I'm looking for. There's an expression. Thorn in the side.
Okay.
There's a thorn in the side for Democrats, right? But then what happened slowly was the Electoral College in the states where it mattered, there's a lot of younger voters voting. So it kind of flips the script. So the Republicans are like, damn, we really got to figure something out because that Electoral College is what saves us the ability to be in power. Think about this. There's been 5 Supreme Court justices who have lifetime seats that were put on the bench by a president who lost the popular vote. That would be George Bush and Donald Trump. That is not how a democracy should work, especially if we're doing a lifetime seat. Maybe that, and I'm on a tangent here, I realize that, but I'll stop talking about that, but maybe we should change that as well to make it so that it's not a lifetime seat. You have a certain...
Well, and in regards to what you're saying, where most of the Supreme Court justices are put on the court by people who did not win a popular vote, that's probably why Roe v. Wade is so unpopular, is because what they're doing goes against the popular vote. Even most Republicans are in favor of allowing a woman the right to choose at some point. Now, nobody's in favor of, say, third trimester abortions. But what the Republican Party is doing is basically denying it, period. You know, they passing heartbeat bills and shit like that. So you're right. When you have a Supreme Court that is ran by people who do not represent the majority, they pass laws that are, or they make rulings rather, because they don't pass laws, but they make rulings that are not representative of the majority. But how about this? I want to ask you this, Z-Pack. In the comments, Flip stated, you shouldn't be able to vote if you don't pay taxes. You don't have skin in the game. Would you be in favor of only allowing taxpayers to vote?
Why do we have to change things that have never been a problem? Like, this is what I hate. Like, it's more Republican talking point and banner where it's like, oh, well, if we can't have them pass the civics test, maybe we should have the non-taxpayers who are 18 or whatever also not vote, or even the elderly for that matter. And I also wanted to add, remember, Obama had a Supreme Court justice stolen from him as well.
True.
And so he didn't even get to appoint more than one, right?
Yep.
In 8 years, he only got one.
Yeah, Sotomayor.
So he should have had 2.
Yep.
But they blocked it. And Merrick Garland's on a revenge tour now.
I've said that before on some of my lives when they go, Merrick Garland is biased and he's only out to get Trump. I'm like, when you see what you guys did to Merrick Garland, it wouldn't surprise me if he's out to get Trump.
I would definitely not mess with Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland looks like he's on a revenge tour stronger than what Donald Trump's revenge tour wants to be.
But he is going after Hunter Biden. Merrick Garland is going after Hunter Biden too, though.
Well, thank God the Republicans might be able to sleep tonight because, you know, they're so worried about a non-private citizen, you know, who didn't even work for the government. And meanwhile, you know, Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner got millions of dollars working in the administration.
With the Saudis.
Jared Kushner couldn't even get a security clearance. I mean, this is the hypocrisy that they have. They love this thing about Hunter Biden, but they're not concerned about Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner.
I will say something. You made an interesting point about the security clearance, because we have to ask this. You're looking at the things that Trump is being indicted for. If he gets reelected, you think the feds would give him security clearance? I mean, they have to if he becomes president. But
This is a man that should not be free right now. I mean, for what he did, he should be in protective custody because anybody else that did what Donald Trump did with those classified documents would not be a free man. We talk about the two-tier justice system. It does exist because you have a man like Donald Trump who's a rich white man, and it does have everything to do with race. He's a rich white man who got away, who has privilege because he's a former president, and that's the only reason why he's not in protective custody right now. I mean, there are American soldiers that I follow on this app who had classified material in their possession. They can't even talk about that to their wives.
Wow. Yeah. And that's the point I'm making, is that if Trump gets reelected, by law they have to give him access in the nuclear codes and things like that. But you would have to assume that because so many people in our most sensitive organizations don't trust him, they wouldn't be playing up front with him. They would be hiding information from him behind his back because they don't believe he can be trusted.
Well, they already did. I mean,
right.
We learned that apparently there was a weird spacecraft in the air that was like a balloon or something, and they're like, oh yeah, we didn't tell Trump because we were just afraid of what he was going to tweet. Like, imagine that. Like, imagine having the president of the United States like, oh God, there's this balloon in the air. What the hell is this? You know what? Don't make a big deal about it. Just let it go. Don't tell Trump because we know he's going to lose his mind.
Yeah.
He's going to go on Twitter and say, we're under attack. The aliens are here. Yeah. We're doing so many things.
And you also know that generals, towards the end of his presidency, had found their Chinese counterparts and told them that they didn't have to worry if Trump tried to start some type of war on the way out, they would not even follow instructions. I think was a General Milley or one of our top generals.
Because he calls General Milley a weak coward now, just like he calls Mike Pence, the most Republican person I know, a rhino. I mean, Donald Trump wants Mike Pence in a zoo. I don't know. It's just.
All right, I gotta move it on, Z-Pack. Come on back anytime, man. Good talk. All right, looking in the box. I don't get how some of the most lifelong Republicans, well-respected. By the way, folks, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 30,000. If it's enough of you folks in here, let your thumbs not be lazy. You could be anywhere you want to be this evening on this damn app. So I do appreciate you folks rolling with your boy. You know what I always say, the program shall forever remain MAGA friendly. But liberals are always welcome as well. And tonight we're getting a few liberals on the program. We've had some conservatives. We always welcome them. We've had some liberals as well. But you know we're not going to block, ban, or censor you just because we disagree with you. You have your right to free speech. We're going to preserve that here, such as Seahawks in the comments. Liberals are very, very much full of shit. I'd love to have you in the box. Elaborate on that. I lean left. I'd love to know why I'm full of shit. Fact, I haven't taken one today, so you might be right. But I'd love to hear it from you. Let your boy know why you think he's full of shit. All right, looking in the comments, Pence is a tool. I appreciate that TikTok cap. I haven't seen anything like that tonight. Nobody sent me shit. So I do appreciate that. It's always nice for some of you folks to do things like that. So thank you. I see Z-Pack says you sound unhinged. I love the word. Haven't heard that in a while. Rhinos are part of the Unit Party. Real money. Thank you. Speaking of that, let me go straight to the box, and we're talking to the one and only Real Money Jiggles. Now, Real Money, did you hear the clip I played from Vivek Ramaswamy?
I didn't hear that. I was just listening to your conversation there about sort of two-way and the vote and some of the things being thrown out pertaining to that.
Okay, this is it's a fairly short clip, but I want you to hear it and elaborate on this. What do you think about this? This is presidential contender Vivek Ramaswamy, who's climbing in the ranks. Not going to be Trump, but climbing in the ranks, and this is what he's proposing.
For a new constitutional amendment.
Raise the voting age in this country from 18 to 25, but still tell you that you can vote at 18 if you either do service to this country 6 months in the military or 6 months as a first responder, or else at least pass the same civics test that we make an immigrant pass to actually become a voting citizen.
What do you think of that? That's what he's proposing, a constitutional change. 18 to 25-year-olds cannot vote automatically anymore.
So my question, what he's saying is he wants to revoke the 26th Amendment. And to do that, you'd have to go to Article 5, which would take 2/3 of the House and Senate to vote for that. So what he's saying is a great talking point, but it's so impractical, it's not funny.
No, I agree. I agree it's impractical, but let's assume that it could be done. How do you feel about that?
Well, he can't. So it's one of those ones that he can't write an amendment that restricts people's rights. See, the Constitution has been amended 5 times when it comes to our vote. Amendment 14, Section 2, Amendment 15, Amendment 19, Amendment 24, and Amendment 26. It's the only amendment, it's the only thing that's been amended 5 times from 1864 till, or is that 1971? So if it's been amended 5 times and every time it says it shan't be denied or abridged, why are they keeping trying to deny it and abridge it? And when you mentioned taxes, that's the 24th Amendment. And why do they have to put in the 24th Amendment? It was because they utilized a poll tax against people of color to prevent them from voting, even though the 15th Amendment says the right to vote shan't be denied or abridged on account of race, color, or condition of previous servitude. Because the word in Amendment 14, Section 2 says all male citizens 21 plus have the right to vote. They meant white men. How do we know that? Because they had to write the 15th Amendment. Then did we change that with the 19th Amendment?
Wait, hold on a second. Your answer is so fucking out. Did you already know I was going to talk about this?
I know this off the top of my head.
I can tell.
Challenge the vote, because here's what I'm doing as well is I'm asking. Here's the question that I ask: why, when it comes to our vote, do they say a text message cannot identify a citizen at a specific time and place efficiently enough for us to exercise our constitutional right? But then I look at the justice system, and the politician suddenly says a text message is good enough to identify a citizen at a specific time and place, doing a specific thing efficiently enough to take away their rights. So by default, the standard to take away our rights has to supersede the standard to exercise our rights. So I'm even proposing biometric vote. If the justice system is true and correct, it means that our voting system has been subverted. If the vote's true and correct, it means we've locked up millions of citizens unconstitutionally with identifiers that can't be used to exercise your right, but suddenly can be used to take your rights. That's a double standard in law that only benefits the politician while hindering the citizen. And so it's been a constant suppression of the vote, and you can see that all the way through the constitutional amendments.
Yep.
Why did it have to be amended so many times? Like the 15th Amendment in 1870. Black people of color should have had the right to vote in 1870, but then they put in the poll tax. The 19th Amendment didn't give women the right to vote. It took out the word male from Amendment 14, Section 2, and replaced it with the word sex. The right to vote shan't be denied or abridged on account of sex, not gender. Because the Constitution of the United States is a non-binary.
What you're basically saying is that since day one, they have been constantly coming up with loopholes to prevent people from voting, so they've had to constantly amend it to cover some new loophole or new interpretation somebody used to prevent people from voting. They've had to keep amending it just to say what was said in the beginning. Everybody has a damn right to vote, but they're using the language and twisting it so that you can exclude people.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's all they're going to try to do with this as well, is subvert it. I don't need an intelligence tax on the people voting. I need an intelligence tax on the people running.
Damn, that's good. Damn. I don't need an intelligence tax on the people voting. I need an intelligence tax on the people that's actually serving. That is an excellent, excellent statement.
Because we listen to talking points, but no one questioned him on his talking point. Okay, so great talking point. How do you implement it? You can't. So sit down and shut the fuck up. Next question. No offense, but we pander to these bullshit talking points, even when it comes down to women's rights. I thought classifying citizens into subcategories to take away their rights is why we had to write the 13th and 14th Amendments. And we clarified the 14th Amendment with all persons born, the first three words. All persons born or naturalized in the United States become citizens of the United States, and all have the same right to life, liberty, and property.
Let me ask you this. You can answer it either way. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer, but I'll ask you folks in the audience as well. Do you think President Trump could pass the civics test? If he was given a civics test to explain how government works properly, do you think he could pass that?
No, and his statement, Make America Great, proves that. Because Article 3, Section 3, the act of levying war upon the United States or giving their enemy aid and comfort is treason. So my question, like I've asked you before, what's America? It's not my country. America is so inconsequential to the United States. United States of America is only used 5 times in the entire Constitution. United States is used 88 times. And then the rest of the time refers to us as the state or states. So like, for example, 2A, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. State being a singular word. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall be infringed. But to even understand 2A, you have to go to Article 1, Section 8, paragraphs 15 and 16, which is the job of Congress, and that is to repel insurrection and rebellions, and that's for the militia, which is the National Guard. And even Article 2, Section 2.
So wait a minute. So when you say...
Navy and militia.
So in other words, militia was never meant to be an individual citizen. It was meant to be the National Guard.
100%, because it's to defend against the state for insurrection and rebellion. That's why it's the singular word state. If you want your right to bear arms, you go to your state constitution. For example, I live in Nevada, Section 11. Every citizen has the right to keep and bear arms for security and defense. for lawful hunting and recreational use and for other lawful purposes. If you go to Article 12, it discusses the militia, which is Amendment 2. So your state constitution gives you the right to bear arms in defense of your home or your person, not 2A. 2A is if we don't honor our First Amendment right, which is to peacefully assemble and redress the government for grievances, and we go beyond that, they can roll out 2A to repel insurrection and rebellion. And why was that originally put out? Because when we wrote our Constitution, not in 1776, in 1887, 17th of September, that's when the United States was formed. When our
Okay,
Constitution
so I want to ask you something. This is a bit off subject, but because of your knowledge, you're driving the comment section bananas. Were you born in America? Because you sound like you have an accent.
I'm from Ireland originally.
How long have you been in
I've
America?
always been in dual citizenship. I never had to take a civics test. I sat down and read the Constitution when I got on TikTok, and people were talking about 2A. And so I thought, you know what, if I'm going to join a book club discussion, I should probably read the book. And when I read 2A, it's 27 words with 2 commas, and 99% of people who talk about it can't even tell you it. I'm talking about 2A within Article 1, Section 8, which was written 2 years prior. So the articles were written in 1787. The Bill of Rights was written in 1789, 2 years after. So there's a logical progression to things that you have to understand.
Okay.
It's like taking things out of context like they do with religion. By the way, thank you for the gifts.
Yeah. So now you have dual citizenship. So, I mean, have you spent most of your life living in Ireland? And I mean, because you obviously have the accent. So you learn, your early years were obviously over there then, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Dublin, and I came over here in my early 20s. So I've actually been here in the States longer than I have in Ireland.
Okay. All right. You clearly know quite a bit of how this.
United States.
Yeah, you clearly know. I would suggest you know more about how this country runs than most of the people born here. But I got to move it on, Real Money. It is always a pleasure talking to you. You can educate us all. Come on back anytime, man.
Thank you as always for your time and what you do here on these lives. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, looking in the comments now. That was a hell of a call. That was a hell of a call. And I'm not too shy to admit that his knowledge, I would have no problem. His knowledge is above mine. I mean, he knows far more the intricate details of the Constitution than I do. I just haven't paid that close attention to it. So I would absolutely enjoy talking to someone like that as much as possible. Looking in the comments, that was Benjamin Franklin, bro. Rob said I just got through talking to Benjamin Franklin, and it was an honor. It was an honor. Me and Real Money Jiggles have spoken on a host of issues, and generally anytime we talk, it's quite factual based, just like it was there, with a hell of a lot of reference points for you to verify what he's talking about. So very educated individual, certainly when it comes to the Constitution. Oddly enough, like you said, he was born in Ireland, lived in Dublin. And he comes with all of that knowledge for the U.S. Constitution. That's amazing. Looking in the comments, Blaze says, I know he's not a Republican. Well, perhaps you could be a moderate Democrat. I consider myself a moderate Democrat. I don't lean right, I lean left. But I don't see everything right as evil. I don't see everything right as wrong. I see some good on the right, some bad on the left. So he could be a moderate. And unfortunately in our current environment, we've become so tribal that there's not a lot of love for a moderate Republican or a moderate Democrat. We've went very far to the left and very far to the right. And even President Biden, who was essentially elected to be more of a moderate, has been dragged further to the left by his party, because a lot of folks think he should be even further left. Like when he talked about giving tuition assistance, a lot of people on the left was pissed off because he didn't give enough. And obviously on the right, certainly with abortion and things like that, Trump has taken that party, not just Trump, but the Republicans in general, has taken the Republican Party very far to the right. So both sides have went further in their corners. There's not a lot of love for moderates anymore. Looking in the comments, what is this? Khalil Payne says, I'm a socialist and we here together. I don't quite get that comment. I don't know what that means. He's on the left. I've seen him on TikTok for the last year, says William Denby. Okay, fair enough. He's self-taught, says Joseph. Yeah, definitely that. And he was coming. I see you there, Naeem. I was making a joke. Okay, fair enough. All right, we're going to go back to the bots. It's like to hear more from that AI guy. He's not AI. He's not artificial intelligence. He's just very educated on what he was talking about. Let's keep it moving. Stitch of the truth. Talking about changing the voter laws. You can 18 to 25 no longer being a right, having to earn the ability to vote. Did you hear the clip I played there, Stitch?
I did not hear the clip, but
Okay.
I've heard him talk about, the 18 and 24 thing. And so, first of all, I got to say this. I like Real Money Jingles. I hate that I have to come behind him.
Well, I'm not going to hammer you. I don't have the ability to hammer you after him. So you'll be allowed to speak. You can speak how you want to speak. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, so what I was about to say is this. What I want to question is this, is why? And the reason why I say that is because, if he's thinking that 18 and 24 is not simply mature enough, there are plenty of 30 and 40-year-olds who, by physical nature, they're 40, but in the mental capacity, they're 17, 18-year-olds as well.
Yeah.
So, I just question as to why 18 to 24, and I think that could be a dangerous precedent, simply because that we have 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds who lay their life on the line for the military, and yet still they're not allowed to vote.
Yeah.
I think that goes against.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He's okay with you voting if you're serving in the military.
Okay, so then I have another question then. So if he's okay with someone, if you're enlisted in the military, and you're allowed to vote, then again, it goes back to the maturity part. What makes someone more or less mature, even if you're a civilian, that they cannot vote if
Well,
they happen to be 18 or something?
Well, he's not preventing you from voting based on the perceived lack of maturity. He's preventing you from voting because he don't think you have enough education. He's saying that if you don't serve in the civil services like the military, then you should be able to pass a civics test. You should be able to pass some type of civics test to show that you know how America is run civilly or civically, and then you can vote.
So if I'm 18, so long as I pass these civics
You can vote.
tests, then I can vote.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's my next question then. All right. So number one, is it the same test that we say we give someone, say from another country that's trying to obtain citizenship?
Yeah. Okay, give me a minute, because I want you to, it's only a few seconds. You've heard him say it, but you're asking some questions that it's only about 20 seconds or so. I want you to hear it.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know why my damn
The
clip.
voting age in this
Okay,
country
hang on a second.
from raise the voting age in this country from 18 to 25, but still tell you that you can vote at 18 if you either do service to this country 6 months in the military or 6 months as a first responder, or else at least pass the same civics test that we make an immigrant pass to actually become a voting citizen.
Now I want to say something before you speak, because I guess I just paid attention to it this time I listened there. He said, 6 months in the military or 6 months as a first responder. You can't vote, but you can be a cop? It just sounds backwards to me. I don't think you are smart enough to be able to vote right now. But if you're willing to go out and be a first responder for 6 months and come back, they'll let you vote. I don't want somebody that is not even smart enough to vote in his opinion being given a badge and gun. That didn't make any sense to me. But now that you've heard it, go ahead and elaborate.
So I guess, again, when he talks about, I guess, 18 to 25 by those not having, the education unless they have proven themselves after taking this test. Again, through life experiences, say you're 26 or 27, and if you took that test, you could not pass it. Again, what are we saying here at the end of the day? Because we know plenty of 30 and 40-year-olds
won't pass that.
Yep. Probably could not pass that test.
I just asked a question about 20 minutes ago to folks in the audience. I asked folks, do you think Trump would pass the test? And half the audience said no.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's indeed true. And and again, I just think that, in my opinion, I want to know more or less the motive. Why?
Yeah.
Why all of a sudden you think that 18 to 24-year-olds should take a test? And I just want to know that. Why? What has been proven by data that 18 to 24-year-olds who have not taken that civics test are so uninformed that they cannot voice, that they cannot make a vote?
Well,
I would just like to know that.
The fact is,
everyone should be asking.
Yeah, the fact is the 18 to 25-year-old crowd overwhelmingly votes liberal, and folks like Vivek Ramaswamy probably think that makes them idiots, that they don't understand voting liberal is not what's in the best interest of the country.
You know what? And I'm glad you said it, because I didn't want to come off the bat saying that, hey, look, I know why, but that's exactly why.
Yeah.
And the thing that what kills me about Republicans is this. If you want to win the vote, if you want to capture the vote, then do what needs to be done. Why do you have to change the rules? If if you're trying to reach a constituency, win them over. Win the public. That's all you got to do. But the thing is that, let's just, look, I'm going to say it now. I really don't, care who gets mad right now. The Republicans are so filled with fragility because they don't know how to reach people anymore. That is the reason why. Hey, look, we cannot reach these guys. Therefore, we're going to change up the rules. We're going to hand you a card with a fixed deck and tell you, hey, look, go and try to win. The thing about it is that if we're playing spades right now, they'd be the ones that say, hey, look, let's get rid of the big and the little joker. Let's get rid of the ace of spades. Come on. To me, we are taught here in this country to compete. We're taught to give it our best effort so that we can exceed. Why are they exempt from that same philosophy that we teach our kids? Yeah. Why are they so exempt now that they say, hey, look, well, we can't win the popular vote, so let's just change the rules. And that's exactly what they're trying to do now, because they lost the popular vote for the umpteenth time now. So, they're not willing to change. Yeah. And that's the reason why, I'll say this again, a lot of people don't want to hear it, but look, I'm going to tell you it's the truth. Conservatism is dying a slow death, not because it's bad, but because the messengers are very poor at carrying it out.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that, and I've said it before that's why when you hear Republicans talking about it's bad in liberal cities, and they can't say, well, they can say it's bad in liberal cities, but if you notice, they don't point to a Republican-ran big city to say, well, this town is being ran properly, because there isn't any big cities ran by Republicans for the most part. There's very few of them, and it's because, you're right, the messaging that comes from the Republican Party is not big on diversity. Any area of the country that's heavily diverse, they're going to vote liberal no matter what. There's just not enough messaging coming from the Republican Party that attracts a diverse crowd. And you can talk about liberal cities all you want, but you should have Republican cities to have as a counterpoint. And because of that messaging you're talking about, they don't have any real big cities they can really point to say, well, see, our city is being ran better. So I do agree the messaging is poor.
It's almost like this, Handsome. If you all of a sudden start losing your viewers, okay, let's just say, for example, you're losing your viewers, right? And you average, I would say, from what I've seen, 200 to 300 people per live. Well, let's just say that.
Okay.
And let's just say they drop off. Okay, let's just say they drop off. Are you gonna blame your viewers or are you gonna blame yourself?
Oh,
And to me, that if you can't, McDonald's shouldn't be going out there blaming people because they make shitty burgers. That's McDonald's fault. And so, with the Republican Party, when I get into these arguments all the time, is that, oh, well, either you're still on the plantation or you're being brainwashed or whatever the case, we hear it all the time. And I'm like, wait a minute. When is the thing now that political parties are going to blame their constituency for them losing?
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me.
And they absolutely do that. They're brainwashed, they're sheep, they listen to the media, they want free shit. They do everything but blame the Republican Party. I agree with you 100%. But Stitch, gotta move it on.
All right, my brother, take care.
It's a pleasure, all right? Looking in the comments, and I've had shows where I've asked exactly what me and the last caller just talked about, and that is, why do diverse areas overwhelmingly vote liberal? Why do minorities overwhelmingly vote liberal? And when I ask that question to folks on the right, virtually none of them say it's because of something that the right is doing. It's always because something that the liberals are doing or the liberals are lacking. They all vote liberal because they want free shit, or they vote liberal because they don't know a lot, they're not smart, or they're sheep, or they're brainwashed, or it's the media. They never suggest it is something on the right that is simply not attracting their vote. It never comes up. So when my last caller said that they try to blame others, yeah, that does happen. Looking in the comments, because Johnson's plan is still in effect. Jacob, Johnson's plan doesn't even affect everyone. In a big city, let's take Chicago. What Lyndon Johnson did is not affecting everybody in Chicago, yet Chicago continues to vote liberal. New York continues to vote liberal. Houston continues to vote liberal. Atlanta continues to vote liberal. Everybody in that town is not benefiting from what Lyndon Johnson did, and I know what you're talking about. They're not benefiting from that. There is more to the Democrats than wanting free shit. There's more to it. And that, to me, in my humble opinion, that's an insult to even say. You think LeBron James is voting liberal because he wants free shit? Or Oprah Winfrey, you think they want free shit? That's why they're voting liberal? I think that is an insult to the entire Democratic Party to suggest they only vote this way because they want one thing. I don't get shit for free. I don't get welfare. I don't get any free shit. I think that is an insult to Democrats to suggest that Democrats are not smart enough to vote based on what they care about. They only want free shit. I don't get nothing for free. I haven't received food stamps or some kind of nothing. Like nothing. No kind of welfare or anything. I'm voting because I think this party is aligned with my principles more. Nothing to do with free shit. That's an insult, by the way, to all liberals to say that. Looking in the comments, LBJ said Negroes, the other N word, Negroes will be voting Dem for the next 100 years. Angel Fan Gaming, you are 100% correct. But think about why Lyndon B. Johnson said he would have N-words voting liberal for the next 100 years. He was offering us civil rights. At the time, his opposition was saying, no, I don't think blacks have the right to be equal. I don't want to give blacks civil rights. You're damn right we're going to vote for him for the next 100 years if the other side is saying you should be subservient. Instead of criticizing...
Engage younger voters.
Instead of criticizing liberal voters for what Lyndon Johnson said, you should be criticizing the people that were opposed to Lyndon Johnson. Why did Lyndon Johnson do something that folks were opposing? Why would folks be opposing giving civil rights to somebody? You should be criticizing that group of people, not Lyndon Johnson. He's the one that did the right damn thing. Just want to point that out. We're going to talk about Lyndon Johnson while not talking about the people who were in opposition to giving folks civil rights. Okay, fair enough. All right, looking in the comments. Because he was for social programs to keep minorities in chains, says Jacob Cross. Look at the performance of minorities since Lyndon B. Johnson said that. Look at how minorities were living before Lyndon B. Johnson said that. And you tell me, since the Civil Rights Act has been passed, you're going to tell me from 1964 to now, blacks have been living in chains, but before Lyndon Johnson came along, they were somehow free? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Because according to your comment, he was for social programs to keep minorities in chains. The other side was against giving us civil rights altogether. You talk about chains, not even having the right to vote, live in the neighborhood you want to live in, go to the school you want to go to, have the job you want to have. You're going to tell me that giving us social programs was worse than all of that shit? Really? We have the option of not getting involved with a social program. I'm not on any social programs. Before we had civil rights, we didn't have the option at all. You didn't have the right to eat here. You don't have a right to sit in the front of the bus. You don't have a right to become a principal or a lawyer or a doctor. In my opinion, we're doing way better after what Lyndon Johnson did compared to what we were dealing with before. The idea that we're in chains after Lyndon Johnson makes no sense at all. That doesn't make any sense at all. Rudolph Giuliani will be star cooperating witness, says Free Minds 007. I don't know if Giuliani will be a star cooperating witness, but he will probably end up being one of them. There's going to be a host of folks that are in Trump's inner circle that's going to flip on him. I have no doubt. Certainly with what they're doing in Georgia, where they're indicting like 18 other people with them at the same time. All of these indictments that President Trump is dealing with the exception of maybe the one in New York about the Stormy Daniels case, they all got like co-conspirators and shit. So there are other people at risk of also going down the tubes along with Trump. MAGA is willing to defend Trump. MAGA will donate money to help Trump in any way, fashion, or form. The folks who were supporting Trump that are also being indicted as co-conspirators, nobody gives a fuck about them. MAGA doesn't give a damn if Rudolph Giuliani goes to prison. Rudolph Giuliani is on his own. So yeah, you could see people like Giuliani and Sidney Powell and some of them folks testifying because they know nobody is out to help them. You think Trump gives a damn if Sidney Powell or Rudolph Giuliani goes to prison? He'll just tell you those guys are traitors just like Mike Pence is. I mean, he's known for throwing people under the bus. You think he won't throw Rudolph Giuliani under the bus? You think Rudolph Giuliani doesn't realize Trump would throw him under the bus? So yeah, I can see that. I can see that for sure. Anyhow, I see you folks are suggesting that the connection is glitchy. Whoa. I'm reading the comments. Real Money Jiggles just stated, Arizona approved a voter fraud case to go forward today. A 5th indictment. Is that true? Is that true that Arizona will indeed potentially seek a 5th indictment against the former president? Wow. All right. If my connection is glitchy, I'll go ahead and click it in a minute. But real quick in the comments, or better in the box, we'll try one more. I don't know. For some reason, this is not. Let's try Danny, I think it is. If the connection is glitchy, it is what it is. We may have to do what we got to do. But let's see. Danny, good evening.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. And when we're talking about Vivek Ramaswamy suggesting that voting rights for 18 to 25-year-olds, they have to either spend 6 months in the military, 6 months as a civil servant like a first responder, or they have to pass a civics test before they can vote. So 18 to 25-year-olds no longer have the automatic right to vote. How do you see that?
I say go for it. Just make sure everybody over 65 has the same rules.
Oh. What about the people in the middle?
What was that?
What about the citizens in the middle? People who are 25 to 40. Why should they get some kind of special provision?
think the whole thing's ridiculous. I mean, honestly, it's just a
There we go.
ridiculous
There we go.
policy.
Now we getting somewhere. Now we getting somewhere. So
It's wishful thinking.
Yes.
It's more the,
okay, so you don't support him doing this.
no. I'm all for freedom. More freedom, not less.
Now, do you lean
Can't say.
do you lean right or left?
I lean classic libertarian left.
Okay. Libertarian left? What is that?
So classic libertarian, meaning, just freedom. Freedom is freedom not just from the government, but freedom from any power. So whether it's a corporate power or government power, it's the same thing. It's all the man trying to hold us down.
Are you talking about anarchy?
No, not anarchy, not at all. I'm not just saying the same people trying to use the government to hold us down are the same people who will use corporations to hold us down too. I mean, things like, I guess the best explanation might be things like looking at environmental policies and things like that, regulatory capture, negative externalities, basically corporations using regulations to shirk their costs onto.
Let me ask it to you this way: as a libertarian that believes in total freedom, as you're talking about, if I own a small business and I want to dump my business's waste in the local pond, should I be allowed to do that?
No, but you should also have the same rules as large corporations. You should have the same opportunities. So, for example, one of the, and this blew my mind when I hated the idea when I first heard about it, but now I'm sort of a supporter. It's like the, God, what are those called now? I can't believe I forgot the name. The carbon exchange.
Okay,
Carbon trade.
what's the point you're making? I don't get this one. What are you saying?
Yeah. So that's a good that kind of operation, that kind of entity is a good way to help companies of all sizes and like ages choose the best time and the best way to basically improve their own carbon footprint or whatever it is.
I've never heard of, you're the first left libertarian. I've never heard of, like, who do you see politically that you would want to be president? I haven't even heard, what you represent is very rare. I don't normally hear left-leaning libertarians.
Yeah, maybe Bernie. That's probably the closest right now. I know.
No, that's.
I know, but it's not 100%. I know, but I don't really have much as far as direct representative possibilities. But I think the important thing is those exchanges allow the business owner the freedom to choose the right time, place, and ways to upgrade their own equipment and become more environmentally sound. If they don't become environmentally sound, what they're doing is creating negative externality costs on the rest of us, and that's not freedom either.
Yeah.
That's my.
I'm hearing what you're saying. Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying. You just sound like a progressive. You sound, as opposed to a libertarian. Just hearing you say what you favor while calling yourself a libertarian is like hearing a dog go meow. It's like it doesn't match. You sound like a progressive.
I've been accused of that before too, but I think I'm more of a what I call a classic libertarian. You know, the original meaning of libertarians when they first started, and that was just people who are sort of, not quite anarchists, but leaning that way, and they were against any and all powers that were trying to control us, whether it was corporate or government. It's all the man trying to hold us down. And although I'm a business owner, I have been, I own stock, I'm a capitalist too. I'm trying to be realistic at the same time. So
I've never heard it referred to that way. I mean, you definitely presented a unique perspective, certainly on this channel where we talk politics all day. But I do got to move it on because for some reason my connection is glitchy. So some of the folks in the audience are saying they can. I got some issues going on over here. So, but yeah, come on back anytime, man.
Okay.
Nah, sorry I had to cut you short, but looking in the comments real quick, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. But reading some of the comments, I see Big Bird, you said it's good now. I don't know, for some reason it went from 5G on the device down to 4G, so something kicked in. Either the location where I'm at or the damn T-Mobile sensors decided to reduce the speed of my internet. Did you hear that Marjorie Taylor Greene said when Trump gets elected, she's going to ask to be VP? She's going to ask to be VP. It wouldn't surprise me, but if Trump, it's hard to say with Trump, but she would be highly toxic to the Trump campaign. Usually, the president, and if I'm even still on, but usually the president is the one that does all the talking, and the VP is kind of like a person that takes the back seat. This is why I've always been against people who say that somebody like Candace Owens would be a good VP or somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene. These are bomb throwers. The president does not need to be having to defend statements made by the VP all the damn time. You need a VP like Mike Pence or like Joe Biden was when Obama was president. I mean, a VP that stays in the background and is just there so if something goes wrong. You don't need a VP that's going out there starting fights with every damn body like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Candace Owens would do. So MTG would be a terrible VP for Trump because she would take the spotlight away from Trump, and Trump doesn't like that. Trump likes to be in the spotlight. There would be, and that's exactly what Fancy was saying. Fancy, definitely a friend of the program, was saying he doesn't want to be upstage. Yeah, and you are correct, Fancy, that Trump does not want to be upstaged, and Marjorie Taylor Greene would often upstage Trump. Might even say some shit that's counterproductive to something Trump wanted to say, because she definitely has a very strong personality and a mind of her own. So, she would not make a good VP for President Trump. She's a bomb thrower. Even though folks on the right like her, but she's a bomb thrower. Anyhow, nevertheless, I'm looking in the comment section real quick. That's irrelevant because Trump has no chance of winning. William, while I think it's a serious uphill battle for President Trump, I wouldn't say he doesn't have a chance of winning. He does have a chance of winning. You got 50% of the country at least that are very loyal to President Trump. And then there's another 20% that would vote for him over Biden any day. So a hell of a lot of Republicans. There's a lot of Republicans out there that would prefer to see another candidate other than Trump. But if it comes down to Trump versus Biden, they're going to vote for Trump. So the idea that Trump doesn't have a chance, I'm not quite in that camp. There's a lot of folks. He got 70+ million votes last time. He's got to be still worth at least 50. If it comes down to Trump versus Biden, he's worth at least 50. That's not enough to win, but that is a lot of votes. So I don't say he has no chance of winning. And I see the comments. Jeffrey Jones said Trump 2024 got my vote. Bomb thrower and planter. Yeah, Lisa, yeah. And your connection is on a string versus paper cup. All right, it is what it is. I'm going to go ahead and let you folks go to bed. Appreciate the 40,000 likes. Yeah, I apologize for the weak connection tonight, but I'll see you guys tomorrow afternoon as usual. And it's actually telling me that up top your connection is lost connection and it's coming in and out. So I'm seeing that as well. But do appreciate you folks rolling with your boy. 40,000 likes. I can't hate on that. Smaller audience tonight, maybe because of the poor connection. See you folks tomorrow afternoon. If you enjoy civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle, without being fear of being blocked, banned, or censored by the host, follow the program. You're in the right place. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Catch you tomorrow. YouTube, the few folks that were on YouTube, do appreciate you guys rolling with me. Good night there, Arletha Curry. Appreciate that. I was seeing some of your comments come on. The issue with YouTube, maybe because I need to figure it out, is how to get the comments to stay on the damn screen. They come up and then they fade away. So I'm generally looking at the TikTok camera, which is this way, and I'll see a comment pop up here on YouTube and I'll look over and then it disappears. So I got to figure out a way to keep your comments on the screen because I like to interact with you folks on YouTube as well. Like I see Michael Preston was in there saying they should reinstate voters' right to ex-convicts, nonviolent offenders, and I agree with that. If a person, and I don't have a criminal record at all, but I do believe one of the problems in this country is that we do not let felons get their life back in order. There's a hell of a lot of things that a felon loses permanently. If you're going around hurting children or you got 5 murders on your rap sheet, well, really you should still be in prison. But I do believe if you are willing to let a person out into society again, you should leave them the fuck alone. At some point, you should leave them the fuck alone. I don't think anything should be held over a person's head forever. If you think that something needs to be held over their head forever, then you probably should keep them incarcerated. But if you want them to get out and get their life back in order, at some point you gotta remove the restraints. And I do believe that felons that are released back in society should regain their voting rights. I don't think it should be even delayed. The moment you're out of jail, you should be able to vote. I don't see how it's so damn harmful for a felon to vote, a former felon or an ex-con. I don't think that should be. I think literally the next election after you get out, you should be able to vote in. The only reason that was done, most likely, has ties to racism, because a lot of our laws were designed to catch up African Americans. So if you could catch African Americans in a bunch of those traps, you're also taking away their ability to vote. Just like a bunch of the guests were saying on the live stream, that folks have been trying to fuck with the right to vote from day one. How one of my callers pointed out, the right to vote has been altered more than anything else in the Constitution, because people have been constantly coming up with ways to reword things or reinterpret the Constitution to suggest, well, it doesn't actually include this person having the right to vote or that person having the right to vote. Even though in the Declaration of Independence, it starts out with all men are created equal. It's clear that they didn't mean that shit. It's pretty clear that they didn't mean that shit. Because men in this country, and when I say men, I mean women, I mean different races, I mean humanity, in this country have been constantly fighting for equality since day one. That statement meant absolutely nothing. In fact, there's a host of statements that the United States are known for that didn't mean shit. And I talk about that all the time. I usually use the analogy that is kind of similar to if you have somebody in your family pass away and somebody tell you, well, if you need anything, call me. They don't really mean that. They're saying that just to make you feel better. It's the same way the United States was when they said things like all men are created equal, separation of church and state, or as the Statue of Liberty says, bring us your tired, your weary, your poor. Those statements are the equivalent of call me if you need anything. They didn't really mean any of that shit. It just sounded good to promote freedom. We know when the Declaration was created and they said all men are created equal, we know that even white men that didn't own property could not vote. We know women didn't gain the right to vote until 1920. All men are created equal was bullshit from day one. Same thing with separation of church and state. They told you we're going to separate church and state, separate church from government, and then they literally opened up the Bible and started writing laws. We got a ton of laws that are based on religion. Even with the rolling back of Roe v. Wade, go ask somebody why they think abortion should be outlawed. Most of them start quoting right out the damn Bible. So separation of church and state never meant anything. And the same thing with the Statue of Liberty suggesting, bring us, you're tired, you're weary, you're poor. Just come the legal way. That's not what's on there. So yeah, these slogans that we came up with to make it sound like everybody in this country is free and all of that shit, it was bullshit from day one. But yet you see Americans on the world stage making it sound like nobody is freer than they are in America. It's a bunch of bullshit. Anyhow, I've enjoyed the rant. Certainly appreciate the folks, the few of you that have been on YouTube following your boy, because I'm just recently starting to do lives on YouTube. So the fact that you guys are tuning in, maybe I'll keep it going. Otherwise, have a good night. See you tomorrow.